welcome to Bits and Bobs,
the show where we bring you
tabletop gaming news and entertainment
from around the globe.
So grab a nice coffee and sit back.
And let us welcome you to our table.
Hi everyone, this is Jackie from Show Me How to Win. You see and touch them in nearly every game you play, but have you ever thought about the characteristics of cards? What are choices that publishers have to make when it comes to manufacturing cards? Today, let's take a closer look. Generally, cards and tabletop games are made of paper that weighs between 280 to 350 GSM. GSM stands for grams per square meter. Anything below 100 GSM is used for magazines or newspapers that aren't meant to last. Posters and brochures typically use paper between 150 to 170 GSM. As the weight gets heavier, the paper gets thicker. 300, 305, or 310 GSM are considered standard for playing cards. Publishers may opt for thicker weight as an upgrade to make the cards feel more substantial, but a thickness beyond 250 GSM would be too difficult to shuffle. Cards may come in different finishes such as glossy, matte, linen, and metallic. They can also be foil stamped, UV coated, or laminated to achieve that deluxe look and feel. Another important characteristic of cards is its core. The core defines how snappy a card feels when it's bent and also how see-through a card is. There are 4 kinds of core: gray, blue, ivory, and black. Ripping a card is one way to reveal the core, but obviously that's not something you do every day with your cards. So, if you stack your card decks like this, then you can check the edges and find out what kind of core is in a card. The standard cardstock actually consists of 2 sheets of special paper with a specific thickness and weight that have been glued together. The core in the middle is a graphite laminate, and that's what gives cards their snap and resilience when being bent or shuffled. The core can also provide opacity. It's most often blue, but sometimes gray or black, depending on where and when the stock was manufactured. Black core is considered the best in terms of quality. It has a fine surface, good whiteness, great durability, and high strength. Cards made of black core paper will last longer and crease less, but it's the most expensive in terms of production cost. On the other end of the spectrum is gray core. 300 GSM gray core paper is regarded as industry standard, and anything beyond that is considered an upgrade. Some people like blue core paper because it's snappier and less likely to crease than gray core paper, but it also costs a little bit more to produce. Ivory core or white core paper has a finer surface and the strength is comparable to blue core paper. But because it doesn't have a dark colored core, it's see-through when the light passes through, and in many situations, that is not going to work well for a game. Now that you have a bit more information about the cards in your hand, let us know in the comments if you begin to see or feel the differences. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Jessup, and I run a YouTube channel called Dibs on Blue. Signing how to play board games for deaf and hard of hearing people to watch and enjoy in their own language. But hearing people can watch too, since I voice every episode. I also interpret how to play videos over on the channel Watch It Played. It's important to be aware that deaf and hard of hearing people love board games too. And we need to make sure they're welcome at the gaming table. We want board gaming to be as accessible as it can be. So to help with that, if you create any content, it's vital to add captions that are clean and easy to read. You don't want a lot of errors that could cause any misunderstandings. Rulebooks and videos should add plenty of visuals, such as pictures and graphics, to support clear explanations. When people go to board game conventions and see a live presenter or join in on a game session to learn how to play a game, it would be helpful for an interpreter to convey information for deaf and hard of hearing people so they understand exactly what is being said. We want to be inclusive for everyone. For example, if a game wants players to close their eyes, maybe in a social deduction game, what are deaf people supposed to do? They have to see to communicate. So how can the game be adjusted? Maybe someone can oversee the gameplay and flash the lights or tap players on their shoulders so they know when to wake up. It's really all about becoming more aware of the deaf and hard of hearing community so they can enjoy games too, having equal access to board games. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Happy board gaming. Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, Kim here from Tabletop Rebellion. How many of you have games sitting on your shelf of opportunity? Yeah. Are you like me, adding more rather than taking any away? And when a new game comes out, do you need all the things? Does your UPS and FedEx driver visit your house weekly? Is that just me? It's okay. I'm a completionist making my way through the board gaming world. Maybe it all started back in 1990 when I was a little girl obsessed with The Little Mermaid. So remember the scene in Ariel's grotto where she sings about all the human world artifacts that she's collected? Oh, I thought her collection was so cool. She had all the things. And thus the seed was planted. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. Oh, sorry. Let me get back to my point. Fast forward a few years, and I'm introduced to Carcassonne, and then Ticket to Ride, and bam, a board gamer I became. I slowly cultivated my collection, followed some board game reviewers, and then more exciting games came out, and then more. And then we went to our first convention, and well, things just sort of snowballed. So how do you reel it in? Because let's be honest, board games are booming, and there are exciting, beautiful, amazing games coming out all the time. I'm going to be honest and say I'm still working on that part, but I have learned a few tips along the way that might be of some help to you. So step 1, admit it. Shout it to the rooftops. I love board games! If I could own every single one of them, I'd probably try. But you know, it's silly. I don't like every game I've ever played, so I should have a collection of games that I love, right? Right? Step 2, fill your collections with games that you love. This may mean you have to call the collection. Shh, I'm sorry that these games had to hear that. Trade them. You may not be lowering the number of games in your collection, but this way you're cultivating it with games that you love. Maybe you donate some. Check with your local library. We're sending some of ours to an Extra Life fundraiser. It's perfectly okay to let games go to a place where they're going to get played. Step 3, when that new and shiny game comes on your radar, stop and ask yourself a couple questions. Does it currently have a mechanic that I don't own? Or does it do that mechanic better than another game that I have? Because let's face it, you cannot have 12 deck building games. Can you try it before you buy it? Does a friend have a copy? Is it available on Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia? Can you watch a playthrough online from a reviewer that you like? And maybe that'll help you spot a game that's a good match versus a game that you're just adding to your collection. Now, I'm no expert. I am navigating the board game world right along there with you. But we can do this! We can build a collection that we love. And if you have some tips, feel free to send them my way because I need all the help that I can get.
Do you need a dog, cat, or maybe a bumblebee? Are you allergic to dogs, cats, and maybe bumblebees? Well, boy howdy, do I got something for you. In Quirky Circuits, you take turns building different robots and then programming them to do things like dig up fossils, clean up dust bunnies, or maybe even serve a few meals at a restaurant. Although that one's really not much of a pet, that's just a regular robot automaton thing. But hey, if you always wanted one, now's your chance. This is a really fun game and the miniatures are great. My daughter can't wait to paint them, and I can't wait to see what she does with them. She's had an amazing time laughing her butt off at me because I spend the whole game going like this. Okay, hang on, it's facing this way, and if I turn, wait, which way is right? Is this left? But I mean, it does that in the best way. It's adorable, It's fun. It does all the fun things that I liked about learning how to program in code without actually having to program in code. Do you love bees and really want to help out nature's pollinators, but are deathly allergic? Build a bee. Build a busy bee that gets rid of ants. Or a dog that digs up fossils. What's your favorite dinosaur? It's like one of my favorite questions. Edmontosaurus, Lambeosaurus. I know Ankylosaurus is super popular. We're just talking about this one. Quirky circuits. If you can't adopt a pet and you don't have space in your life or your home or your heart to take care of another living creature, Quirky circuits is a perfect alternative. Build your own. Program it. Laugh at yourself because you forgot which way left and right are, and God help you if someone asks you which way clockwise is. Jump around, move around, pick up some things, deliver some things, but most of all, just have fun. And if you like fun, silliness, and maybe even failing a little at knowing your left and right, Quirky Circuits is a great game. Look at those cute animals.
Hi everybody, my name's Jona and I have a channel called One Pip Wonder. I am super excited to be a part of this collaboration show. Today I wanted to talk about something that's more on the social side of board gaming. A lot of people like playing board games because they like the face-to-face interaction with others. Along with that comes this kind of interesting situation where you end up making friends with people that you normally might have never met, and it's through board gaming that you have come together. I remember going to our board game group and feeling a little not unwelcomed by any means, but just a little on the outskirts because I was one of very few females that went to this board game group. And I remember feeling a little self-conscious about it. Now this was totally me. Everyone at the board game group was very friendly and was happy to have me there just as much as my husband. But I do remember feeling for a while like I wasn't a real gamer, and this is a silly notion, but it happens. You get these silly ideas sometimes. And but I do remember there was one specific game that I played that after I was done, I felt like one of the group. It made me feel like I was a real gamer and that I had kind of found my place in the board gaming group. That game for me was Orleans, and it was one of the heavier games I had played on my own without my husband playing with me. There was a lot of new things for me to learn. Orleans is a bit of a point salad. There's all sorts of ways that you can win. There's kind of unique mechanics where you can, place little workers, and if you have different combinations you can make up, you can do specific actions. I never played a game like that. And when I was finished, I was like, wow, that was a cool game. And I had learned a lot of new gaming mechanics in that game, and it made me feel like I was a real gamer. It made me feel like I was part of the group. I'm curious if anyone has had a game like that they played and they were kind of intimidated by it, but in the end, after they had competed and they felt like they really got it, it made you feel like you were part of the group. Now there's another question I have. Is there a game that it didn't really make you feel part of the group, but it didn't matter because you loved that game so much and it was just so you that you didn't care what anybody else thought? That was your game. Now this has happened to me a couple times, but the first time it happened, it really stuck with me. When I played Sangrada for the first time, I connected with that theme of the Sangrada Cathedral and stained glass windows. I connected with the components in that game, those beautiful glowing dice with different colors, and I connected with the mechanics, that puzzly competitive feel that you get from Sangrada when you're drafting the dice and trying to place them. Like, I'd never played a puzzly game like that and I loved it. So in that case, it was a game I just connected with and it took me out of the group. I didn't even care if anyone else agreed with me. Sangrada was my game that I really loved and I was super excited about it. What games helped you fit into a group, and what game took you beyond that where you didn't even care if you fit in? It was just your game. I'd love to hear back from you, hear your thoughts, hear your stories. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.
Hey, I'm Sarah from Settler of Catan, Mayor of Machikoro.com, and Meeples on the Ground. And today I'm going to talk to you about things that are nice to have in your game room. So, aside from tons and tons of games, it's always nice to have some bit bowls in your game room. Now, I've gotten all of these from thrift stores or secondhand shops, and you can get them in a variety of sizes or styles, different materials, that kind of thing. These are really nice to have while you're playing to keep the components organized and easy to pass among players who are at the table. So this is one of my favorite things to have. I also like to keep a pen cup full of pens and pencils and different writing utensils. We use this when we need to jot down quick notes or keep score, that kind of thing. It's really nice to have easily accessible writing utensils. And similarly, we keep just a plain notebook around for similar reasons. I also like to have this storage container that we put all of our extra baggies in. So a lot of times a game will come with more baggies than necessary. Sometimes it comes with too many. Sometimes it doesn't come with enough. So I typically just sort of cannibalize the games that have too many bags, and I keep these in neat organized ways so that I can quickly find a bag that I need to replace one that's broken, or I need an extra one, that kind of thing. So it's nice to have the extra baggies. I also like to keep these little square plastic containers. You can get these like 10 for $1 at the dollar store, and they come in different sizes and styles. I found that the square ones fit really nicely into game boxes, and you can put like player pieces in here or that kind of thing. So it's really nice to just sort of hand everybody their own, or if you're playing with like a bank of things, you can just kind of open the lids and set them on the table with everything in it directly. Another thing that I like to have is a dice tray. If you're not playing in a recessed table, like a game table, a dice tray is a really nice way to keep the dice in the play area. And if you're playing with players who have small hands or dexterity issues, then using a dice cup can be really nice too. These right here are card holders, and these are nice if you're playing with a lot of cards, or again, if you're playing with players with dexterity issues, it's nice to be able to have a card holder so that you don't have to hold the cards yourself the entire way through the game. And then the last couple items I'll talk about are really helpful if you're going to be transporting your collection at all. If you're taking your games out to a game night or to a convention or things like that, it is really, really nice to have a dedicated tote for that. And they do make specialty bags for this. So these are nicely padded. They have reinforced handles. Sometimes they even have backpack straps. And it's really nice to be able to carry your collection around in something like this if you're going to be moving it around. Similarly, these are box bands, and you may be familiar with these, but they come in all shapes, all sizes, excuse me, and they're specifically so that you can put a band on your game. And that is so that while transporting your game, the lid doesn't come open and the pieces don't spill out everywhere. So these are some of the things that I think are really nice to have in your play space. If you have anything to add to the list, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Michelle Gaviola, and I play games with my family on Tabletop Tonight. I was really happy when Anna Maria considered me for Bits and Bobs. I'd like to talk about a few fun ways to go beyond the tabletop. The first fun project that was inspired by a game was actually a watercolor painting, and I based it on the game Lotus. This has a whole bunch of really pretty flowers on it, and this was actually the one that I painted. Okay, and I use these really cool watercolor pens. You don't need like an extra paint pad or anything. All the ink is in here. You just might have to dip it in a little bit of water depending on how dark or light you want your colors to be. But the flower that I painted was this one, and it was really therapeutic, especially when we were first under the stay-at-home orders. It was really relaxing, and I never got a chance to do that when I've had the pens for a while, and it took, I don't know, the stay-at-home orders for me to be able to use them. But yeah, that was one really, really fun project inspired by a game. The next game that inspired a project was Ticket to Ride. And this is a game that we also played on our Tabletop Tonight live stream. My husband asked if I could make an engineer's hat. So I Googled it and I came up with this gem. Okay, so this is just an engineer's hat, but it's made with cardstock and tape and some markers. I just measured his head so this would fit around it, and I colored the engineer's hat, and he wears it like this. Oh, it's a little big for my head. Okay, so the next project was inspired by the game Clank. As you know, it takes place in a dungeon, and in order to see in the dungeon, you will need a torch. Okay, like this explorer card, this character is holding a torch, so I made a torch. All this is an empty paper towel tube with a bunch of gift wrapping paper stuffed inside to make it look like a flame. The last project I'm going to talk about was based on Raiders of the North Sea. These characters, the Vikings, they go and pillage villages in the North Sea. Everybody knows that Vikings need their helmets. So I made a Viking helmet. This is just made out of a manila folder and duct tape, and I found some Christmas tinsel and cut some pieces out for a little bit of bling. It's easy to go beyond the tabletop with items you have around the house. I hope this inspires you to make your own board game crafts.
Hi, I'm Heather, and this is Adriel. We're with Ninth Level Games. We're just going to talk a little bit about RPGs today and kind of what we like about them, what you should know about them, and why they're fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, we have been publishing RPGs for over 20 years. I mean, not us personally, but our company, Ninth Level Games. We started with Kobolds Ate My Baby, which is, at the time, 20 years ago, was a real departure from the majority of products that were out there, because they really focused on heavy fantasy and very crunchy rules. But over the last few years, and especially within the last 5 years, RPGs have really taken off, and the focus has kind of changed. Like, there's an RPG out there for everyone. Like, if you want in-depth rules, you can get that. If you want something that deals with personal exploration, you can get that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more. People think D&D is all there is, right? And it's just about being a wizard and going through a dungeon. And it kind of always has been more than that, but there was very small amount of indie games. And in the last, like you said, about 5, 8, 10 years, it just ramped up dramatically. I mean, you can be anything you want to be, including a princess or a puppy or whatever you want to be now. So there's tons of options out there, and the rule sets have actually gotten really, really approachable as well.
Yep.
So if you're nervous about having to do a ton of math or creating the right character or role playing a lot of physically acting, there's a lot of options out there where you don't have to do that anymore, which is really, really great.
Yeah. And there's not only one of the things that has also happened within the last 10, 20 years is an explosion of where you can get RPGs.
Yeah.
So we love it when you go to your friendly local game store, but some of these games aren't big enough to be in distribution. So there are a lot of good places online where you can find games about being a plant or, adventures for D&D. Like, there's so much content out there now that it's really, kind of a golden age of RPGs, if I can say that.
Right. And there's so many new audiences discovering it through things like Adventure Zone and Critical Role. So the audience has just really grown again to warrant so many more people making RPGs. I was thinking, I could think of a few, but where would you say people could go online to look for RPGs if they don't see anything like this at their local store?
So if you're looking for the really esoteric, out there, lyrical kind of weird stuff, go to itch.io. there is an amazing wealth of RPGs and also video games on that site. And then if you're looking for more of the traditional stuff, but also you want an actual print copy of a smaller RPG, go to Drive Through RPG. They also run community content programs for some of the bigger companies. So like if you want to publish something that uses a Green Ronin system, you can go to Drive Through and contribute to the community stuff there and see what else other people are doing.
Yeah, I would also recommend Indie Press Revolution. They also sell our games, but they sell things that aren't in distribution as well. So if you're looking for something that in a lot of ways is a curated type of indie RPG, that it would be my suggestion to go there. Really good product, and you can get them digital or physical from them as well.
Or both.
Or both.
Yep.
So, I mean, those are your resources, but I mean, right now, I would just say that if you've never played an RPG, you don't have to play D&D as your first experience.
Yes.
You can look at a lot of these other games and say, oh, that looks fun. Maybe I want to do that horror game, or maybe I want to do the one about a witch, or maybe I want to be the plant. There's ways to do this. And I think your friends, if they've never done an RPG either, would also be willing, if they're into the same thing that you're into, you're going to have a fun time.
Absolutely.
They're so much more approachable now. So we're here to encourage you to play some RPGs and try them out.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for platforms to play them on, because, you know, right now it's not really safe to get together with a lot of people, check out Astral, Virtual Tabletop, Roll20. Those sites have resources to help you run a game remotely, or even just play a game with your friends remotely.
Yep. And I'm actually going to plug a couple of our things on that note.
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, we'll have 2 Roll20 modules coming out. One for Adriel's The Excellence, where you get to be an excellent princess. And one for Mazes, which is our like fantasy dungeon crawler type of game, but with a really simple rule set. We also have Business Wizards coming out.
Yes.
Where you're a wizard in corporate America, solving your problems with magic and arcane wizardry. And we were working on that to come out later on this year. So keep an eye out for that. Check out Weird RPGs, and you're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Liz O'Connell Chapman, and I am an enthusiastic board gamer who also holds a PhD in sustainability. And when sustainability and gaming meet in conversation, I've noticed 2 things. One, I see a lot of guilt and shame by board gamers who say there's not enough sustainability in their own practice. And 2, people tend to equate sustainability with simply environmental protection, and there's more to the story than that. There are 3 aspects to sustainability: social equity, in sustainable economics, and environmental protection. And I'll bet you have taken more actions than you realize in one of these spheres, which means you have more sustainable practices in your gaming hobby than you realize. So let's start with social equity. Have you donated to a local library or a youth group? Maybe you've just helped out a friend who couldn't afford that game. Well, those are all sustainable actions because you're promoting board gaming in a wider variety of society. Maybe you're going out of your way to promote designers that are underrepresented, purchasing a game like Tussie Mussy by Elizabeth Hargrave, or Rap Gods by Omari Akil and Hamu Dennis. Both of these are ways that you signal to the board gaming industry that social equity matters in your gaming habit. And you are making that signal with your cash. Yes, your money is an important component of the sustainability sphere. So, have you participated in a math trade or maybe a flea market? Maybe you're one of the folks that supports your friendly local game store. Well, all of those are sustainable actions because you're contributing to a sustainable economy in the board game industry. And just a note, Kickstarter has a section called Environmental Commitment. So the next time you're trying to choose a Kickstarter to support, maybe look at the environmental commitment of that game before you make a choice. That brings us back to environmental stewardship. Recognize these cardboard punch-outs, which you have faithfully been putting into the recycling every time. If you haven't, start now. That is a sustainable action. Maybe you've taken it a step further and you've chosen a game with very little plastic, like Rescue Polar Bears or Photosynthesis. Both of those consumer choices are ways of signaling to the board game industry that you want sustainable game components in your gaming hobby. So I hope this moment has lifted some of that guilt, instilled a sense of pride that you are being more sustainable than you know, and inspires you to take more sustainable actions in your board game hobby. So, thank you for listening, and remember, talk trash at the table, but don't trash our future.
Hi, my name is Beneeta, and today we're going to talk about games you like but probably forgot about. Today is For Sale. For Sale is a auction-style party game for 3 to 6 people. For Sale is played in 2 phases. In the first phase, players are bidding for property cards numbered 1 to 30. 1, I believe, is a doghouse, while 30 is a space station. And in the second phase, players are then selling their property for money, just like the real estate market. Players put their properties face down, and then once all players have done so, they simultaneously turn them over, and the player who played the highest property wins the highest money. And for money, it goes from 0 to 15, and there's 2 cards of each. So you have to be really careful about what cards to place because you want to get more money, because more money wins the game. A meta starts developing when you play this game because, like, hey, I know my brother, he has a space station, so do I really want to put down my 29 when I see a 15 because I know he hasn't played it yet? For Sale is my go-to party game. I love introducing it to new players. It's such an easy rule set. It goes really fast, so it's perfect for like beginning a game night or ending a game night. And the sheer joy of outbidding someone who stole a space station from you, cough, cough, my brother, it can't be matched. It's a great game. I hope you guys who haven't played it, go play it. Thank you.
Hi. Hi. Hello. Hi. Perception. Hi, my name is Emma, also known from the Pointless Parrot podcast. I'm doing random stuff on the internet, and I wanted to talk about not being able to find inspiration, and that it's okay to sometimes have a day where you're just like me. Like, I have a bunch of ideas, but if I need a specific idea, sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that should be okay. So I am gonna go. Have a great day. Stay safe. Bye.
Hi, I'm Carla Kopp. I'm a game designer, developer, and publisher. I run Weird Giraffe Games, and I do a bunch of other things too. Today I want to talk about getting started with game design. For game design, anyone can do it. You don't need to be anyone special or to be a certain type of person. All you really need is to get a bunch of note cards and a writing utensil, and you can make a prototype of a game today. So here's some tips to get you started. Don't be worried about how good your game is initially. Just play it, and you can figure out ways to make it better. I know when I first have a game design, it's usually not good, but the more you play, play it and get feedback, the better it can become. Starting with either a theme or a type of game that you know a lot about can make things really easy because you already have a foundation to go off of. You can also try to make an expansion for a game you really like, or make a game you like into a card or dice version of that game. This will kind of teach you about how game design works, how to balance things, and how to make different kinds of components work together. If you don't know what to do next on your game design, you can go play more games to identify things that you really like and things that you don't like about different games. And if you make a big list of this, eventually whenever you run into a problem, you can just look at your list and be like, oh, okay, well, I can take aspects of this game and I can definitely not do this, and that will fix the problem. Game design is a super fun hobby and you can learn so much. I really love researching topics to get enough information to go further with a game. For instance, one of my games got signed and got turned into a fireworks game. So I got to go and learn about how fireworks work, how there's all these different kinds of fireworks, and I really enjoy that. If you don't think you're creative enough to make a game, I know that I didn't think I was creative until I tried board game design. I'd never been creative in my life, actually, until then. And it was only because I was encouraged to start designing, where I went to a panel and I was told, like, hey, anyone can do this. Just go get some note cards and a writing utensil, and you can be a board game designer too. At this point, I've designed dozens of games, and I'm way better than when I started, and I've only gotten this far through trying. You can do it too. If you want to, of course. Have a great day.
I'm the Cardboard Kid, and I love playing board games. You know what else I love? Cracking that box open, digging through all the cool bits, and admiring the fancy board. You know what though? A lot of games are expensive, and they can take up a lot of space. For many people, these make gaming a difficult hobby to get into. Thankfully, if you have access to a printer, check out a format of games called print and plays. If you don't have a printer or even computer, visit your local library. Visit your library regardless. I love libraries. Some have game nights of their own, or have a community area where you can quietly do your own thing. So let's get back to print and plays, often called P&Ps. Many just need the game sheet, a pencil, and dice for playing at libraries, or if you're a new gamer and physical dice aren't an option, there are dice apps. Sometimes you may need extra bits like cubes or discs, but often you can instead use coins or beads. The instructions will give you a heads up so you won't be like, oh, I didn't realize that I needed those. P&Ps are great for families to try games before purchasing. You might download a game only to realize it wasn't for you, but it's not too bad because they weren't that expensive. For example, Button Shy Games' Star Maps, a game I quite enjoy, is $6 US for an 88-page book. They're also great to try styles of games, war games for example, that you normally wouldn't have even thought about picking up at a store. With COVID-19 keeping us indoors and away from gaming groups and cafes, P&Ps are perfect for still being able to play with friends. You print sheets, they print sheets, and you chat over Skype, FaceTime, and so on. There are some other ways that P&Ps can be used. We have a bunch of sports simulation games from Play.com, Cold Snap, which is a CFL game, plus History Maker Baseball, and Hockey Blast. You need to purchase the main game, but additional seasons are P&Ps that you can purchase. Want to hear something cool? A lot of P&Ps are actually free. Board Game Geek has Geek List, where you can find something that you may like. BGG and the online convention Gen Cans often have P&P contests where you can download and vote on games. There's another cool thing about P&Ps that I didn't know about until the last year. On Kickstarter, a lower pledge often gets you a P&P version. These are usually provided months before the finished game. This is because the publisher and designer use P&Ps some time for playtesting. I found that quite interesting. Hopefully this helped you discover a side of gaming you didn't know about.